Hello and welcome to Celebrity Big Brother Breakdown. We are bringing passion, energy, all of that stuff today, aren't we?
It just makes... When you say that, it just makes me think of that meme thing that's like, more passion,
more energy. Yeah, that's what I was going for. Yeah.
Speaking of footwork, I feel like we're getting more dancing from Nikita these days. Do you think
Good
it's
link.
because he's up for eviction? He's like, oh no.
I need to perform.
I better get these
I think so.
sexy hips out.
Yeah, I think so. I really like Nikita, but I just don't think he brings that much. So when he dances, I actually quite like him. We need to get him going.
Do you know the bit that I thought was really, really amazing and the sort of thing which I really like from Big Brother? I think sometimes we get really swept up in the drama and the funny and all of that kind of thing. It's when Nikita was talking about the war in Ukraine.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just sort of like, well of course he would have had a real struggle
and a guilt,
like a moral guilt of I should be at home fighting for my country, and here I am dancing on TV. And I just think fascinating.
And you do see that a lot with all the awful things that are going on in the world at the moment. If celebrities dare to sort of post a normal picture of themselves, they do get a lot of abuse in the comments.
Yeah.
And I really feel for them because they can't be going on about all of these different causes. Even if they do care, they can't be going on about it all the time.
Yeah.
And they're put in a really difficult position.
Yeah.
Because especially with current goings on, you're going to choose a side and you're going to be hated by someone, aren't you? They're in a difficult position.
Yeah, I thought that was really fab. Well done him. And well done Big Brother for showing it.
Absolutely. I would say, though, that the last couple of episodes haven't been... I wouldn't say they've been great. There is a lack of energy, a lack of passion, a lack of... Oh, no, actually, there's a bit of footwork. Okay. But, I don't know, I think maybe the Ekin-Su drama just, peaked and we were, really into it and we thought this is a moment. And then it's just fallen flat.
Yeah, last night's did feel a bit drab. I also... So I actually did watch it last night. Usually I watch it in the morning sometimes, but I watched it last night and I was watching it with my husband. And he said he really appreciated the fact that Big Brother was just like the real world, where for St. Paddy's Day, they were on the Guinness at 11 a.m. Because they genuinely were. They had that keg and Nikita there trying to pull a pint of Guinness, and it felt like they had a St. Paddy's dance party about 4 times.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they're really stringing this out.
I thought it was proper forced fun. And everyone, and what Coulson said was hilarious because he was like, this is just the sort of, it's the least wanted party that I've ever been to. No one obviously is in the mood because of the nominations.
Well, one person who most definitely was not in the mood was Fern. So, I mean, we've talked before about how she feels like of all the housemates, she's the one who's really struggling with this emotionally, and having to do that double cross twist of the snake that she put on Louis's pillow, and then finding out that actually that meant that he was put through to the final, and the guilt. It's obviously really weighing on her. Mm-hmm. Discuss.
She's... I find Fern a struggle.
Right, go on.
Because you know how she keeps going into the diary room and doing happy tears, saying how much she's loving it? I think she needs to tell her face that. Do you think? She's just never that happy.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, she says she's having a good time, but are you really having a good time?
Yeah.
When she's in the house, everyone says that she's on her own all the time. She's not actually integrating with anyone.
Yeah.
Nikita really has a serious issue with that.
Yeah.
It's really odd.
Yeah. So I've got more to share with you about Nikita and Fern later. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I think? Right, theory. So Fern's sort of the same generation as my parents, and the whole thing with that generation is you get on with it. It's stiff upper lip, brave face, you don't complain, you crack on. And Fern certainly has spent her entire time in the showbiz spotlight doing exactly that. It probably feels completely normal for her to just pretend she's fine. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of pretending she's fine, isn't there? And I think we really saw that yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah, and she just feels like one more episode away from I don't know, some sort of Celebrity Big Brother breakdown.
Yeah, I don't want to say Vanessa Feltz style chalkboard meltdown.
Yeah.
But
Or she'll start
I
behaving like a
worry.
cat or something. There'll be something that happens. There's just
Yeah.
something that I think she's taking it everything to heart. And there's only so long you can be under that kind of pressure if you're not naturally comfortable in that environment.
I agree.
But they're all really lacking the energy, passion. They're just they're all done now, aren't
Oh my
they?
God, I completely agree.
And it's only Tuesday. We've still got a little while to go. You know, it's still a big build-up, and this is when it's really going to get intense for them.
I agree. You've actually spoken to someone that will have a much better read of the Fern situation than us, haven't you?
Yeah, so on behalf of Pressbox, we've been speaking to one of their body language experts,
Oh, I love
Darren.
it when we do this.
Yeah, we'll chat with him. He was on actually our previous podcast about Love Island All Stars, and he's excellent because he reads what they're trying to hide. So I think it'll be really interesting if you can hear what he thinks about Fern. Let's kick off with Fern, because for me she's been the most interesting.
Yeah.
She's someone who appears to sort of say one thing and maybe act a different way. What's your reading on her?
Do you know what? I've seen a very different side to her. Like, some of it's quite chilling because she's really good, masking emotion. I mean, the whole thing about the snake, if you imagine yourself in that situation, or people that are watching this, that you've got someone really sat within a few feet that you've effectively just backstabbed. And then what I noticed from a body language point of view is that she then began to sort of touch her neck. So we call this a reassurance gesture or a pacifying gesture. So anything that where we need to make ourselves feel less anxious, we will sort of touch our face, or we'll kind of go like this. So it's almost a self-hug. And I noticed that she was doing that. Yeah, if people watch that back, they'll see that when he said, well, one of you's put that snake in my bed, she sort of, her eyes kind of looked down. So unconsciously, when we tilt our head down, that shame, so it was like a little kid would go, oh, I'm sorry, miss, or so in school. So she tilted her head down. It was pretty quick, and then she sort of went like this. So she felt bad, but at the same time, she was quick off the mark to sort of nominate Louis really to leave straight away. So she's very, very good at masking her emotions. And I've seen that all the way through the series, really, that she can say one thing but really be feeling another. Whereas some other people, they'll tend to wear their heart on their sleeve and be a lot more open. Yeah.
I mean, she seems to say quite negative things to people about how she thinks they are, but in this really kindly way. So it feels like she's not being nasty.
Yeah, I think that's a chilling part of her personality. It's like something off Spooks, like she gets people's trust and gets the kind of builds that rapport with them. And it's quite Machiavellian, really, in the way that she does it. So she's very good, but also I find it a little bit chilling.
I found that about her speech. The nomination where she had to give a kiss to someone who she was nominating, and when she stood up and said about Ekin-Su, she delivered. I mean, if someone said that to me, I'd be crying straight away. She really went in on Ekin-Su. What did you make of all of that?
I mean, again, it's just his ability to operate on sort of two levels, if you like, be feeling a certain way, but also I think to deliver sort of criticism to somebody else. A lot of people would find that very hard, whereas she finds it just, what's the word I'm looking for? Just so easy. Do you know what I mean? So
ridiculously easy.
Ridiculously easy. So I think there's lots of hidden depths that we've not really seen because Fern's always come over like your auntie, when she's on this morning and things like that. This kind of like lovable sort of teddy bear character. And I think she's definitely got these hidden depths. These kind of dark, we've all got a dark side, but she's got these kind of these abilities to really go inside and kind of cut people to the quick, really.
So do you think that makes her quite dangerous in terms of competition for other people in there, because they really don't know what she's actually thinking?
Yeah,
and is that her game plan?
I think so. I think that's a good question. I think generally after these amounts of weeks in that sort of proximity with somebody, you'll kind of get their measure. And most people when they first meet, it's like going on a date, isn't it? We're always on our best behaviour, and then you get to know somebody over the course of several months. And people will tend to let their guard down, I think, once they've been in someone's, sort of. That's something we're literally living inside each other's pockets. So a lot of them have kind of dropped their guard. But with Fern, she's so stoic, she's so good at keeping those barriers up. So it does make her a very formidable competitor, really.
What do you make of it when she goes into the diary room and she says about what a wonderful time she's having, and she cries, and they appear to be happy tears, but then when you're hearing the feedback from the others in the house when they keep putting up for eviction, they're saying that she's on her own and she doesn't seem to be, very happy in there. Is she lying by saying that she's really enjoying the experience?
I think we're reaching the point in the process now where a lot of them do want to go. I'm not saying she's not competitive, but number one, she's very good at crocodile tears. She's very good at accessing emotion, very much like a method actor. But at the same time, she's also very good at portraying a certain emotion to the rest of the group. So I think it's an interesting question, because on one level, I think she's kind of ready to go. But I think also one part of her, that competitive side of her, is really putting out all the stops. And I think, I don't personally think she's going to win, but I think that she's going for it now. She's reached that point in the process. And I think was it Colston or one of those who mentioned, she said, I can't believe we've kind of got to this point now or something. So I think now they think they're on the downward slope. Yeah. The finish is in sight. Yeah. I think the finish line is now very much in her sights now.
Interesting. That's really great. Predictions then for the winner?
Oh, this is an interesting one. I've been sort of deliberating. I don't think it'll be David. I've got. Bradley's. I know Louis says he's too happy. He's too happy all the time. He's too positive. No, that's not normal. And I thought, well, no, he's just he's just enjoying being in the process, isn't he? I think potentially Bradley, or I don't think it was easy. I think she's wound too many people up.
Nikita, a lot of people saying that they really like him.
Yeah, if he doesn't go, if he stays in, I think Nikita's probably, or Bradley. I'll probably edge towards Nikita, because Nikita's an all-round nice guy, really. He's very supportive. What you see is what you get. I've not seen him really play any sort of Machiavellian games, and even if they have, there's something in psychology called duping delight, and it's a little smile that we give ourselves. So maybe sometimes, maybe you found a £20 note on the floor, and there's no way that you can trace the owner, so you keep it, and you think, oh, I'll keep that. You feel good about yourself, and so with some of the housemates, like Louis, like Fern, we have seen this duping delight, this kind of I'm all powerful type of expression, which they can't really control. And I've not seen that with Nikita. He's been consistently, on what I call a baseline, all the way along. People said that he offered himself up for nomination as a bit of a game, but I don't think he did. I just think he's what we call in psychology again is a very altruistic person, which means he's selfless. He's willing to kind of take one for the team, so to speak. So I think, if I'm going to put somebody down, I would say Nikita.
There we go. So we'll soon see if he's right about all of those predictions as well.
Yeah, I love stuff like that because it's so true, isn't it?
I wonder what he'd say about us.
Oh my God, I was just going to say.
Do you think they hate each other?
Do you think he'd spot the simmering tension?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. In a good way or a bad way.
Oh my God. So speaking of simmering tension, it's a double eviction tonight.
Yes.
So Marisha, Fern, Zizi, and obviously Nikita are up. Who do you think's going to go?
Marisha? Yeah, Marisha, definitely. Because I think being American...
Where's the fan base?
She's been good, but she has done a couple of things recently that's made everyone turn on her, and I don't know whether she's going to get that kind of support. I would say Zizi, But I think she's got a huge fan base, so I think she actually might be saved.
Yeah, I think that we're now at sort of put Fern out her misery kind of stage.
Yeah.
I know we've talked before about her having backing from people that, want to support her. I don't like to say pity vote. I mean more like support vote, I guess. But I think that those same people will see that she's now really struggling. So equally
and it's maybe time to
her.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably a good decision.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what else she's going to gain from being in there. And she keeps sort of, what did she say in last night's episode? Like, need to get through the next 48 hours. And that seems really sad for someone to be kind of wishing their life away, like, just got to get through this time.
Yeah.
So obviously she has really struggled with that twist, which was such a brilliant twist because Louis was just reveling in it. He was like, well, that's backfired. And you saw her try and pretend like she didn't know. She's like, oh, who is it? They must be a snake. But tonight, the guilt really overrides her. So she gathers everyone up and she makes the announcement that it was her.
Yeah.
She done it. Who done it? She done it.
Who done it? Fern done it. Yeah. Fan theory, obviously, is that when Fern chose Louis, Big Brother was rapidly like, shall we just do the twist here now?
Yeah.
So that we don't lose Louis.
Of course. They've paid 500 grand for that guy. They want him in until the bitter end.
Loads of fans, I'm sure you've seen this, we touched on it yesterday about how much fans wish there was a bit more kind of normal Big Brother, and that there's too much kind of interference. Like, did they just twist this so that Louis stayed in? There's a double eviction, there's this eviction alone, there's the killer nomination, there's the Nikita putting himself up,
That's caused a lot of drama unexpectedly, I think. When the coward vote, the courage vote.
Yeah.
And now tonight they'll look into about the cowardice of Bradley, who didn't put himself forward, kept very quiet, as did Marisha. That's really stirred up a lot of feeling because it's that classic of, oh, I'm not bothered about getting to the final at the same time as they're absolutely bothered and they desperately want to be in the final. Because I think to last this long, this is the worst eviction to go, isn't it?
Yeah, because you're so close to the end.
Yeah.
So surprisingly, he touched on this while chatting on This Morning yesterday. But I had a little chat yesterday with Levi Roots, who you wouldn't expect. I certainly didn't expect this from. But he basically just straight out said that the house is toxic and that the biggest culprits behind this are the lads. So he says that all of them are game players. He said there was a massive divide between the young'uns and the older ones. That's the toxic situation. I realised there was a side that were really playing the game properly. So when we sort of said to Levi, so just who are you talking about here? And he said, oh, the young ones, Bradley, David, it's the lads.
They're playing a game.
Yeah. And he said as soon as sort of voting comes up, all of a sudden, rapidly, whoosh, they would go to one side. And he also said it was them that were bullying Ekin-Su. So he described it as micro-bullying. He said they wanted her out. People weren't voting fairly. I thought it was microbullying, which I think is really interesting because obviously this whole Ekin-Su situation isn't going away. And Levi, he feels like a credible narrator on this. You know what I mean? Like he isn't someone like a Gary potentially or a Lauren that might come out and stir a little bit.
At the same time, I don't know, if he's got all of these morals that he kind of keeps going on about, then I think he should have done something about it.
Well,
what's the point in coming out, really?
He said, I mean, potentially we didn't see this, but he said, I tried to take her under my wing. I wanted to put my arm around her. I tried to protect her.
Oh, I don't think he did. Or he didn't do a good job, did he?
We didn't see him.
We didn't see it. And also the I don't know, like, you could stop the other people rather than just protecting her. I think you could actually have a word to the boys and like call them out. So yeah, I'm not really convinced about that one. Only because I think he came out and there was a lot of backlash to his interview that he did on This Morning. Obviously not as good as yours. And and he said he was like calling out people being game players. And then everyone was like, what are you talking about? You've literally just gone onto Twitter, seen what the kind of public reaction is, you know, and kind of formed a bit of a narrative to look like the goodie by siding with Ekin-Su.
Yeah.
And I'm tempted to believe that kind of side of it as well. I was at a Celebrity X on the Beach launch last night. A really fancy bash, and there were so many reality stars there, and it was really nice catching up with everyone. And obviously I was asking them all about their opinions on CBB, and honestly the topic on everyone's lips was Ekin-Su.
Cool.
And they're just saying, you know, what has gone on with the ITV pulling out thing. You know, she was meant to be on Lorraine in the morning show yesterday.
We thought you might have Ekin-Su on the programme.
So did I.
Oh.
But alas, no.
Oh.
I don't know what's happened.
Oh.
Yeah, she was due to come in.
Right.
But no.
And then it was, I think Lorraine Kelly herself said that Ekin's not turned up, basically. But then that got retracted, and ITV put out a statement to say, no, actually, like, that's not what happened at all.
Yeah.
And they apologised to Ekin-Su. I think that everyone's just confused about that. This feels like a bit of a Kate Middleton-esque drama that is building up online. The conspiracy theories are going wild.
Well, I've got a bit more on this.
Okay.
If you're interested.
Of course.
Obviously, the way that it works with these shows is ITV will pan out a bit of a press schedule for the people who leave. So usually that involves like a GMB, Lorraine this morning. So it had been thought Ekin and Lorraine, that would be a good fit, but nothing was ever confirmed. And obviously when these housemates come out, they can say, I don't want to, or I need to go do this, or, you know.
Right.
And there's also discussions with people like us, for example, of, you know, would we potentially want to speak to her first, and all that kind of thing.
Exclusively, and then therefore they kind of would hold off on other chats.
Yeah. So definitely in terms of the way that Lorraine positioned it yesterday morning, I think shocked everybody, because she was, what we're hearing is she was never actually confirmed to be on Lorraine.
Right.
It was something which was offered, but isn't something that was necessarily kind of fully scheduled, and then she just didn't turn up. So I think that was upsetting. But another situation which has
So I was just to say, the
occurred-
kind of last thing she needed, with everything else going on.
Yeah, exactly.
That it was then as if she'd done a runner, disappeared, she's letting people down, throwing the show into chaos.
Yeah.
When actually it wasn't like that behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's this sort of growing feeling of, I mean, Ekin's obviously, you know, really been quite affected by coming out and the way that everything has been taken, and certainly the sense that she doesn't feel that she's necessarily being treated that fairly.
Yeah.
Certainly the last thing she wanted to do was probably go on to Lorraine and talk about it again.
Can we talk about what her, I was going to say game plan, that's the wrong word because of everything that's been thrown about, but her mindset coming out and to face this, her and her team, what do you think they're thinking it is best to maybe take a step back for now? Because obviously you had Levi on all the big shows, speaking to The Sun, going on social media and releasing a video.
Yeah.
And so he's spoken out loads. As soon
Yeah.
as he's come out, Ekin-Su, nothing. We haven't heard anything from her. What's the strategy behind that?
So I think that at this point, she just doesn't really want to even think about a strategy. So from what I'm hearing, obviously she's got loads of people wanting to speak to her. And at this point, she's just trying to like deal with it. So I think that there's always a situation when these kind of things happen where you either want to, I suppose as journalists, if the person involved in the drama doesn't share their side of the story, other people fill the silence. So for example, that happened with Levi. Levi yesterday spoke about Ekin-Su, and I mean, I guess quite helpfully shared his side of all of that and kind of backed her, I guess.
Oh, totally, yeah.
So that's, you know, helpful to the cause, I guess. But equally, that could have gone the other way. And it could have, you know, if it had been someone that was less of a fan of Ekin, it could have gone the wrong way. So certainly the thing that I wanted to tell you about is Ekin, it had been discussed that she would be the one that went in to do the court case on tonight's show. So basically, in tonight's show, they do a new trial, which is a kind of court. And Lauren Simon goes back in and she passes judgment on a various sort of activities that have happened in the Big Brother house. And they all have to give their side of situations. Like, for example, Marisha has to talk about why she nominated Ekin-Su in the way she did, and so on. And what we're hearing is that it had been, gently discussed that it would be Ekin that would go and be the judge as opposed to Lauren. But after everything that's happened, it was a no.
So it was discussed before Ekin had left, and if she did leave and there was an opportunity, she would come back.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of conversations that happen all the time. We know with these reality shows, it's very reactionary on, situations happening. And certainly Ekin was in the mix for one of the people that would be coming back. And that's been a no. So I think...
From her side?
Yeah, so that's what we're hearing. And I don't really blame her. She probably... just wants to sit and eat some Ben and Jerry's, and
it's also really soon to be if you've just come out on the Friday, it's a little bit too soon to go back in, isn't it? You haven't really gone back to real life.
Civilian, they had everyone back for the Halloween task.
Yes,
and I think was it so it was
that was spooky.
It was someone who had left really recently, Kerry.
Yeah.
She'd left through that coffin and then she was back almost immediately, wasn't she?
Yeah.
So, I mean, certainly that says to me that we should expect Ekin to probably be locked down for a while yet. But tonight, I believe Davide is going to be having his say.
Yes.
So on Rival podcast. No, I say that tongue in cheek. Chloe Burrows has done amazingly with her podcast.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Chloe versus the world.
So brilliant.
And Davide's on that, and no doubt we'll be talking about Ekin-Su. So, God, that poor girl.
I know. That's not going to be nice. She never really focused on him. It wasn't like Davide is this, Davide is that.
No.
But it was a constant sort of, there was just something bubbling all the time.
There was a layer, yeah.
And she kind of spoken about, other people getting involved in relationships. Threesomes, not wanting threesomes.
Yeah.
And it was just like all of these different clues. And I thought, is she talking about Davide?
Yeah.
Is this what's happening?
Well, the other thing, of course, is that this weekend, and if this is the game Davide wants to play, then that's his right to do so. But he was out in Manchester, and funnily enough, all of the girls that he was ever linked to during his relationship with Ekin were also out at that same venue. So there was Harriet, which was one of the girls that Ekin had felt that something was maybe going on with, and then there was Sylvia, similarly, the most recent one, and they all happened to be there. So
Coincidental.
Who knows?
Is there a risk that Ekin-Su, by keeping quiet at the moment, and then there's now a double eviction, that we all move on from it, and actually she doesn't get that time that everyone clings on to? Because even when there's a double eviction with for her and Levi on Friday, you're then splitting all the shows, you're splitting the airtime really, and a lot of shows who's come out want to have all of that fame on themselves, all the to be popular, to make sure they're getting out and about as much as possible. Is there a risk now there's going to be 3 other people who are out within a really short space of time and she kind of gets a bit forgotten about?
Yeah, definitely. But honestly, I don't think she cares. I think it's just been such a shock that she'll probably forgo a few press appearances for the sake of just trying to get her head together and stuff. So
it must be frustrating for her though if there's different narratives coming out, and she does feel like she's not in a rush to speak, but actually there's other people speaking on her behalf.
Well, yeah, like I say, filling the silence.
Yeah.
I mean, look, God, I'm not a celebrity publicist in any way, shape or form, but certainly, we've seen people who have actually done things wrong, which obviously we've said before, Ekin didn't really do anything wrong, who have chosen to quite quickly do a chat, and then they put their point across, and then they go away and do the healing, and there's an argument for that. But hey,
the backlash has been intense, and we just wish her all the best, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Blimey. Do you want me to talk about something fun?
Yeah.
Let's talk about something fun.
Lighten the mood, bring
So I don't know whether you saw this last night, but I thought it was a really, really funny, but also a really nice reminder that Zizi is a big deal. I think we forget that in the mix of those celebrities and Louis constantly being like, what's she done? She's done nothing. So Zizi just casually mentioning about the time that Ed Sheeran was on her YouTube Zizi Mills show. And she said she'd been doing her research ahead of the chat and read that Ed Sheeran had once sent Elton John a sculpture of a male genitalia, manhood, a giant marble manhood.
I wondered what you were going to say.
I was like, how do I say this? So basically, as part of her chat with Ed Sheeran, she was like, I want one. Ed Sheeran only goes and sends her one. And Zizi talked about the kind of sculpture she might like. And and then one day there's a knock on the door and a delivery man arrives with a giant, she went like this, huge marble manhood. And she was like, it's in my house and I love it. And I was just like, bro.
It's just a really random story, isn't it?
I know. And that's what I think that Big Brother does. In among all the drama and all of that, we've got Nikita really worthy conversation about the Ukraine war and how he feels about that. And then we've got Zizi sharing this like tale of ridiculous showbiz life.
The sleenness of it all.
Love it. Yeah. Side note, Louis, another of his takedowns, Bob Geldof.
I love that does he like anyone? I'm just thinking like the list of who
Sharon.
he hates is just, Sharon.
Yeah.
Sharon.
No, I know. So I don't know what's going to happen on tonight's episode. In terms of this court case, certainly we saw that David is forced to kind of lay into Marisha about her game playing in the way that she nominated Ekin. So that was when Marisha said, if we get to the final, I can't beat you, which I felt like at the time didn't get enough heat because I know that everyone's saying she meant it in a positive way, but I mean, wow.
I don't think she meant it in a positive way, but I think it was just the American thing, like we said before. It's just
lost in translation.
That's their kind of game plan mentality, isn't it?
The other thing that happens is this Fern and Nikita situation has been bubbling ever since she learnt that he'd nominated her 3 times as part of that fairy tale challenge. And they have a completely bizarre conversation about how she essentially says that he is really ageist towards her. So again, I think this is just a complete language barrier situation with Nikita.
Totally.
He apparently says that she says that he said, oh, I like your top, Fern, stripes are really in fashion. And
I think he said they're actually brilliant. They're in fashion.
Stripes are actually in fashion.
As if she didn't know.
Yeah, and she was like, yeah, I know that.
And she tries to explain the fact that you're still in your mind, but whatever your age is, your mind is still young. She compares herself to she's Nikita's age in her mind.
Yeah.
Of 26 rather than 66.
Yeah.
We've heard this a lot from Fern, haven't we?
It's a real thing.
A real theme throughout the whole series.
Yeah.
Of her maybe, I think I said it before, of her maybe not accepting her age and being, I think, creating a little bit of resistance to certain situations, maybe being hurt by a lot of the things that are being said, which aren't meant to have, not meant to have been said in a hurtful way.
It's a her thing, not a them thing.
I think that's what it is. I don't think anyone's sort of pointing that out in a really negative way. But when you're conscious about something, you really pick up on stuff. Yeah. You're like, oh God, they were having a go at me for that.
Sue offered me a swimsuit. That's her.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da.
But I do find that the clash between Nikita and Fern fascinating because if you think about him on Strictly, one, it's an older fan base. And you get loads of older contestants. You had incredible Angela Rippon at, what age was she?
79.
79 doing the splits. And so I know he knows what, older women can achieve.
Yeah.
And it really surprised me that there's been this real clash in culture, in age and everything. And their conversation is really difficult to watch tonight, that we'll see, because you're sort of, they just do not communicate well.
No.
And Fern comes across, would you say she comes across quite kind of confrontational, aggressive in a Fern way, which she does excellently.
I would rather
in a
have
soft voice, in a
Yeah.
kind voice, but she's basically saying, "Don't call me an old." Don't you think? She really goes for it.
I would rather have a row with Louis than I would Fern. Because at least Louis would say what he meant, whereas I think Fern wraps what she means up in a bow.
Yeah, no, she does. She's saying awful things, but in this sweet, angelic way. And she's like, "Don't worry about it, you know, but you have just done this."
That's what you do to me.
It's really all this time. God, I find it, terrifying. Yeah.
So interesting. So interesting. Well, we'll see. She'll obviously have her say on this, presumably when she comes out, and that may well be tonight with the eviction.
Is that who you're putting your money on?
I think it's obviously Nikita's safe. But yeah, I think probably Marisha and Fern, I think.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
As they said, quite rightly pointed out, all the girls.
Yeah, we need a woman in the final for
Yeah, we really do, just to keep Louis in check and everything else. Well, certainly someone needs to keep him in his cups of tea.
He's obsessed with a cup of tea.
I know. Speaking of which, you've not got yours today. I've not
I
got
know.
to it, have I?
Actually fuming. Where was it when I got here?
Sorry. I'll make sure you've got one tomorrow.
Thank you so much. See you then.
See you then.
But somebody did put the snake in my bed.
A snake, obviously.
I wonder who that was.
You'll probably find out, Louis.
Probably. I'll find out.